When do we stop to say, we do not know more? If you know what I know, and I know what you know, and we know from each other what we know, then we have to agree on that knowledge in order to be able to communicate on it, if communication is the only way to talk about what we think communication or social change or whatever is. So, if it is a hermeneutical model, then it is not appropriate for an analytical explanation, maybe. It's not the appropriate model for an analytical explanation of society. A model of knowledge is always an interpretative model. It's not a model of proof. It's not a model of representation. It's a model of representing how we think about it. So social change is first a change of relevance. What is changing is the relevance of what we think is social, is society, and is sociability. The social change is first a change in relevance. What means sociability, what means society in the context of life. The relevance of society to the individual life is changing. The relevance of individual to the society is changing. The relevance of the sociability between ourselves, between individuals, is changing. That is what is social change. We are not only in a social change, we are also in a culture of change. That means we can only talk about social change if we have somehow a culture, an understanding of what is change. Social change is also a change of culture. That means of social rituals, of institutions, as we have heard from families and also societal institutions wherever they are. And it's also a change of the symbolic environment. We are living in a social environment, in a cultural environment, and in a symbolic environment. And this environment is not just an environment that existing outside of us. It is as we see it. It is as we observe it. So if it is changing because our observation is changing on it. And the last point, social change is a change of communication. As I said, if communication is to be seen as being the modus operandi of the society and its mechanism, then what is changing in our society is the system of trust. And I have to stop it here, of course, but I just want to give you this idea. What is changing is the system of trust. What is changing is the mechanism of trust, because our relationship is changing, and if the relationship is changing, so it is also changing what we think about ourselves and what we think about the other. So this is what we have to bring back in our theory when we talk about the change of the structures. Thank you very much.
نشكر للباحثين الأربعة الذين قدموا هذه البحوث المتميزة. والآن نفتح الباب المداخلات والأسئلة. كل مداخل الرجاء أن يقدم اسمه ويوجه سؤاله إلى الباحث الذي يريد أن يسأله.
Dr. Alan Moore, I'm from the Corbell Graduate School of International Studies, University of Denver, Colorado. I have a question primarily for Dr. Yusuf Ramadan. There's an interesting theoretical question in communications because research in intercultural communications and behavioral psychology consistently reveals nearly 75% of the information transmitted in communications by the more higher context, collectivist cultures of the Arabic cultures, the Middle East, Africa, Latin America, South America, the Mediterranean, is transmitted non-verbally through gestures, eye contact, tone, volume, whatnot. These are not available through technology, particularly the virtual technology. Some of the technological determinists suggest that this means that the more higher context cultures are going to be forced to communicate more in a more direct, individualist way, the way of the Western cultures. Could you engage this, please?
Dr. Uthman Arabi, I have a question to Dr. John Servais. I have a
قرب
commentary.
الميكروفون دكتور.
Okay. It's a more commentary, it's not like a question. In defining the role of communication in development, I think participatory approaches, although progress over diffusionist approaches, still doesn't deal with the issue of power, which is, if we consider power as a cause of underdevelopment. That's the question.
معك الدكتورة هند الخليفة من قسم الدراسات الاجتماعية. عندي سؤال للدكتور اللي تحدث الأخير الدكتور توماس من ألمانيا. The paper you have presented is very rich, and actually there's a lot of philosophy in this paper, but maybe the time was not enough to explain all the parts. Can you elaborate a little bit about the understanding of social change? You were talking about how social change is something to explain our lives, and it is considered or related to the way we see ourselves and see change. And at this time I can remember say 4,000 years ago from ancient Egypt, someone who left holography saying that I think the world is coming to an end because young people are totally different than our generation, and they are causing many problems. And if we looked at this say, we would, it's amazing how this say was 4,000 years ago, and we still have the same perspective toward the young people. Therefore, this is can be totally related to what you are introducing here, that social change is how we see ourselves and our lives.